I'm gonna work on the connector, which I have here. I unloomed, or took the old loom off. I'm gonna reuse it actually and just put new tape. But looks like you're only gonna have to extend 2 wires, which if you can see here, these 2 actually go into this harness right here where I'm pointing, and then the rest of the ABS connector is pretty long. Plan is to extend those 2 and then fish the connector through here, and that should be long enough to reach and connect here. So I ended up cutting the 2 wires that need to be extended, and it looks like I would say tan and white stripe wire and a blue and orange striped wire. You can see there. And I just cut it. I'm going to splice them, and I'm going to use these solder wire connectors. This is made by Ticon. I found it on Amazon, fairly cheap, but it gives you an assortment of solder butt connectors. Pretty much what you want to do is, once you strip all 4 ends of the wires, you just insert it like a normal butt connector, like that, and the other wire like so, and then you just apply heat. You use a heat gun, a soldering iron, or a very small torch, and what it does is it melts the solder here and it connects the 2 wires together. So, and it's a little more cleaner look, and it's a little easier than using your traditional soldering iron and solder. So I'm gonna go ahead, strip these wires, connect those butt connectors up, and then should be able to pull this through that hole. I ended up moving this box that was here to have a little more room to get it through this hole. There was a connector. What you want to do is, the bottom of this actually has a cover and a connector going to it that runs through that hole. So I just popped this cover off the bottom of that box here, unplug that connector so I can pull this harness through. This is the connector for that little box. This was the connector in the bottom of it, and this is obviously the side marker bulb. So I pull it out so it's no longer protruding here. Gives me more room to pull this connector through. But this little cover was hitting the one side of the hole, making it hard to be able to push this through. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this cover off, and all it does is just clip in these 1, 2, 3, 4 spots, and it's just zip tied to the rest of the wire right here. So I'm going to cut the zip tie off, take this cover off, and then I'm going to, once I get it through the hole, I'm going to put this cover back on and zip tie this again. Alright, so I got those 2 connectors soldered together, and I'm going to use some heat shrink just to cover the wires up, and then use a torch to clean that up a little bit, and then connect the wires to the harness right here. I just used what I have, green spare wire. This is actually a 16 gauge. The wire that I'm mating to was 18 gauge, so just as long as it's bigger, you should be fine. Alright guys, so I got the 2 wires soldered, as you can see here. and I have heat shrink that I'm going to put over it. And I got these two wires soldered as well, and got some heat shrink that I'm going to slide down onto it. Now once that's done, I'm going to loom everything up and tape everything up so it's nice. Get it connected. This is the connector on. I extended all the wire, taped and loomed up the rest of the wire. Yeah, that is done, and next step is to bleed the brake system, and I'm going to do that with the fenders off and the wheel well liners off to make sure that there's no leaks from any of these locations. So I highly suggest, if you're doing that, to make sure you bleed the system and check for leaks before you put everything back together. Because then if there is a leak, then you're gonna have to take things back apart again. So I'm gonna go ahead and start the process of bleeding the brakes. So a couple things. The rear caliper bleeder screw is actually a 10mm, and the new Ballad brakes bleeder screws on the front side and back side of the caliper are 8mm. So you want to make sure you have an 8mm wrench and a 10mm wrench. And I'm using Honda OEM .3 brake fluid, and then 10mm flare nut wrench and an 8mm flare nut wrench. So we're gonna go ahead and fill the reservoir, pump the brakes up. This situation, I'm gonna be using a second hand. So I'm gonna be inside the cab to pump the pedal, and I'll do each wheel individually. So there's a certain sequence that Honda, from the service manual, requires to bleed the S2000 brake system. And it starts off at the left front wheel, then the right front wheel, then the right rear wheel, and then the left rear wheel. All right, so I got the fender on just to do a test fit to see if the ABS unit has clearance from the fender. So let's take a peek. And there is plenty of clearance. Won't have an issue with the fender. There it is. ABS relocation finally done. Yep, like I said, any questions, feel free to reach out to us via Facebook, Instagram, DM, our email. We'd be happy to answer any questions regarding this specific mod or any of the other mods we've done. And if there's anything else that you guys want to see, just let us know and we'll try to get that out for you guys. So yeah, like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell if you haven't already, and we'll see you guys on the next one.